Quick correction here on the Brittany Griner video I uploaded earlier today. I said in the video that she did not have a Wikipedia page. When I was doing all my research for that video earlier this morning, I couldn't find her Wikipedia page. I was going on there to look for something. I don't remember what it was, but I couldn't find it. One of you guys shot me a DM on Twitter, shot me the link to her Wikipedia page, and, there it is. I scrolled down to the bottom. It says it was updated 45 minutes ago from when I looked. I don't know if it was created 45 minutes ago or if I just missed it earlier today. I don't know. I don't know how I could have missed it, but hey, I do make mistakes. I could have missed it. When I was looking for it, I thought, it's kind of strange. I mean, WNBA players are not high profile, but it doesn't take much for someone to create a Wikipedia page about you. So I thought it was strange that she didn't have one. So if I did overlook it, that was my bad. Anyway, I was planning to talk about Lamar Jackson and Adam Schefter tonight. I couldn't find enough interest in the story. At first glance, I thought it was another example of Adam Schefter doing what ESPN does best, taking comments out of context to fit their narrative. After looking into it further, Lamar Jackson was actually in the wrong here. Adam Schefter quoted him verbatim. He was on LeBron James' show. I think it's called The Shop. Lamar Jackson on the show. He claimed that NFL quarterbacks, there's still a bias against black quarterbacks in the NFL. Actually, he was just agreeing with LeBron James' point when he said that. It was a very short little blurb in the entire, hour and a half video, but Lamar Jackson clearly agrees with LeBron James' assessment that there's still a little bit of a bias against black quarterbacks in the NFL. So Adam Schefter quote tweets him and says, hey, this is what Lamar Jackson says. Lamar Jackson's like, you're taking it out of context. That was not the case. So instead of talking about that, we're going to talk about someone else at ESPN, Mike Wilbon. Back when I used to watch ESPN before they decided to become the worldwide leader in woke, PTI, pardon the interruption, it was my favorite debate show. Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser, they possess something that is difficult to find in broadcasting. Chemistry. It's the reason I've always been hesitant to have guests on my show. If the chemistry is off, it just makes everything awkward and more difficult. Mike Wilbon is also the one on the panel of NBA Countdown. I think it's called NBA Courtside now, but who fucking cares what it's called? Who cares about the name? Very few people are watching the show because very few people are watching the NBA. The Bucks and the Bulls were playing on ESPN Friday night. This is their first meeting since Grayson Allen clotheslined Alex Caruso in midair back in January. It was a hard foul, flagrant foul, no doubt about it. But it was no different than what the Pistons used to do back in the 80s and 90s. Hell, back then, the NBA was rugged. It was tough. Hard fouls were common. They used to call flagrant fouls back then just a regular foul. But this is not the 1990s anymore. This is the modern NBA, where everything is a whole lot softer. Now, I'm not defending Grayson Allen. He is a dirty player. But you know what we used to call dirty players in the NBA? We used to call them the type of guys that you needed to win a championship. Dennis Rodman played dirty. He was instrumental to the Bulls' second three-peat. Guys like Dennis Rodman, they made the kind of plays that you didn't want your superstar players making. They sacrificed their bodies. They're the first ones coming to your defense when a physical altercation starts to take place, which physical altercations are few and far between in the modern NBA. They're rare. All the players are too busy playing grab ass to be fighting each other. Mike Wilbon is a Chicago native, huge fan of the Bulls. So he obviously holds some disdain towards Grayson Allen for taking the head off Alex Caruso back in January. And that's fine. It's understandable. But it was interesting to hear how Mike Wilbon described Grayson Allen. What's more interesting was the lack of media reaction to this description. Roll the film.
I'm told that this is the emotional thing that really helped galvanize this team, the Bulls. because they really have great respect for Caruso, even though it was less than one season. The way he plays, the way he prepares, what he stood for, what he's able to do unselfishly without a basketball in his hands. And you take a guy out like that, and Grayson Allen is a thug. Let's just be honest about it. Not based on his NBA play, based on his reputation and the smirk after he knocked a guy out of midair. Grayson Allen is a thug.
I happen to agree with Mike Wilbon. I mean, in the NBA, Grayson Allen is a thug. Dude is polarizing. He's been one of the most hated players in basketball since he was at Duke. And it's not because he has a strong resemblance to Ted Cruz, who, by the way, Ted Cruz used to really irk me. He had this, I don't know, this like smugness, this arrogance about him. He was like a wasp at a picnic. You kept swatting at the little fucker and he would just never go away. But Ted Cruz has kind of grown on me lately. At least I feel anyway. At least he attempts to be honest sometimes. Other politicians in Washington, D.C., they're so damn lazy, they don't even hide their corruptness anymore. But anyway, I agree with Mike Wilbon. Grayson Allen, in the NBA, as far as the NBA is concerned, Grayson Allen is a thug. He's a dirty player. I could sit here and play you videos for an hour of Grayson Allen seemingly always to have his feet in the wrong place. Tripping players when they're driving the lane, having his feet in their landing zone when they're shooting threes. Grayson Allen is the kind of guy that you want on your team, but when he's your opponent, you can't stand the little fucker. The NBA used to be full of Grayson Allens, Rasheed Wallace, Charles Oakley, Ron Artest, Bruce Bowen. Hell, Reggie Miller was considered to be a dirty player. I don't have a problem with Mike Wilbon calling Grayson Allen a thug. I don't have a problem with the word thug. Hell, when I was growing up, thug was a term of endearment, at least in the rap world. Rappers used to glamorize the thug life. But as you guys know, we're not living in normal times anymore. We are living in times of sensitivity. We have a heightened awareness to people's feelings. We must not say anything that could hurt one person out of 350 million. Here's the thing, though. The media is not making a big deal about this. And look, they shouldn't. Mike Wilbon, like I said, is not wrong in his assessment. Grayson Allen, he's not calling him a street thug, but in the modern NBA, Grayson Allen's antics are thuggish. But here's the thing. What if Mike Greenberg had called LeBron James a thug? What if Mike Greenberg had called Lonzo Ball a thug? What do you think the media reaction would have been to that commentary? ESPN would have fired his ass on the spot. They would have pulled him off the air immediately. Because at ESPN, it's okay for a black man to criticize a white player. It's also okay for a black man to criticize a black player, or any player for that matter. But ESPN has created an atmosphere where if you're a white man, you must censor yourself. Now, this is just speculation on my part, but I believe it's one of the reasons that Colin Cowherd left ESPN several years ago. He called it at the time creative differences. But I think Colin Cowherd saw the writing on the wall. To his credit, he has never been political. He has never mixed politics and sports, at least most of the time he doesn't. But I think Colin Cowherd saw the direction ESPN was going. Sensitivity training, normalizing bizarre behavior, apologize for your white privilege. The mainstream media has twisted the word thug into a racial term. They've associated it only with black people. White people, they're not allowed to use the word thug when talking about a black person. That's just prejudice. But a black dude can call a white guy a thug, and that's just okay. It's just another example of the hypocrisy in the media, especially at ESPN. The woke, they're always talking about fairness. They're always preaching about equity. WNBA players should be paid the same as NBA players. We must make this fair. We must make everything equitable. Where is that same energy when it comes to situations like this with Mike Wilbon? I thought everything was supposed to be equitable. How come Mike Wilbon is allowed to call Grayson Allen a thug, but Mike Greenberg isn't allowed to do the same? This is the reason the mainstream media has no credibility. You know, The mainstream media, they remind me a lot of times of women, and that's not because most of the men in the mainstream media act like women, which they do. But these people can never seem to make up their minds. Women, naturally, they change their minds a lot. They're emotional thinkers. And I don't mean that as a negative. That's not a bad thing. It's just how they are. It's just nature. It's the way women are. Women think emotionally, men think logically. We come together and we have balance. That's how it was designed before men wanted to become women. The truth is, we both need each other to play the roles that we're designed to play. Men need women for support in achieving their dreams, accomplishing their goals. Women need men for emotional support, to be the calming voice when everything appears to be falling apart. The mainstream media is all about equity until it doesn't fit their narrative. As soon as something doesn't fit the narrative, they change their mind. They're all about diversity until they change their mind. Ask Rachel Nichols about diversity. She was one of the only women that was a leading voice in the NBA. But that wasn't diverse enough for ESPN. We found Maria Taylor. She is much more diverse than Rachel Nichols. Oh, really? Really? Considering damn near the entire NBA panel on ESPN is black, it would seem to me Rachel Nichols would be more diverse. But why let silly things like facts and logic get in the way of promoting the agenda? Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. Mike Wilbon, he calls Grayson Allen a thug, and there is zero reaction from the mainstream media. Would that lack of reaction be the same had Mike Greenberg called LeBron James a thug? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.